Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Now, this is my first time trying live feature, so if I make mistakes, forgive me. But I'm very excited to speak to you about few things that have been on the top of my mind, especially when we discuss difficult conversations. And this podcast will be recorded, so you can view it afterwards if you have to leave soon and any of that things. So, first thing we have to discuss is the question I want to raise with you today is about difficult conversations. What are difficult conversations? Let's start with that. Because to understand why difficult conversations are difficult for us, we have to understand what are difficult conversations. So let's start with that. We think some conversations are difficult, and I'm very cautiously using that word think because we are dealing with opposing views. We're dealing with people who have some differences with us, either intellectual differences, societal differences, personal differences. There could be differences in terms of culture, upbringing. And that makes the conversation difficult because they are not just like us. So if you're with someone who looks like you, who talks like you, as Cialdini has said in his book Influence, then you like that person, then it's easy. There's no problem. The problem comes when you are with someone who is not like you, who is different than you. Then what do you do? Then what happens? So any conversation with that person could amount to being difficult. Why? Because there are differences between the you two, right? And nationwide in America today, we have large differences, at least portrayed specifically in public. And for sure, there are some hidden, under the surface differences as well in terms of political views, in terms of what people think we mean by being an American. You have to be the red or blue. You can't be together. Why such a difference? Why is the world right now seeing a rise in populism, rise in arguments where we are feel like at least we are more divided than we are together? So these are some of the notions I'll be discussing for another 15, 20 minutes, and I'm going to open up for questions. If you have any questions, I've received some questions through emails, through social media beforehand. I'm going to tackle them. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat there, and I'll do my best to answer that. So let's go back to the question, why are difficult conversations difficult? And I have 5 simple tips for you, and this is my key content at the right in the beginning of the talk. Difficult conversations are difficult because we are lazy. We don't want to engage with them. We are too comfortable dealing with people who are like us. We want to stay in that comfort zone. So it's not exactly they're difficult because they're per se, there's an objective opinion by the society, these conversations. They're difficult to you. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is they're difficult to you. So therefore, you in your perception, these conversations are difficult. So you want to think about, are all conversations that are difficult for you, are they difficult for everybody else? Or they're only difficult for you? And that's an interesting question to think about, isn't it? So you want to put that pin there. Are you too comfortable not going into that place? Are you too comfortable not thinking about conversations that can push your personal preference, your personal comfort zone? Point number 2. Now, not just we're lazy, we're too comfortable. Difficult conversations are difficult because we avoid them, because we're not used to them. We've been avoiding them all our life, isn't it? From a young age, we are taught, do not be like this. Don't be rude. Don't say this thing to that person from a very young age. So we grew up now thinking that I don't want to be rude to someone. And sometimes in difficult conversation, you have to be rude because you're challenging someone's perspective. You're challenging someone's position. So for number 2 reason, difficult conversations are difficult is because we are not used to them and we avoid them. Combination of two. Number 1 was we are uncomfortable and we are lazy. Number 2, we're not used to them and we avoid them. Number 3, difficult conversations are difficult because of fear. And we are fearful of what? We are fearful that we may have a disagreement. We don't like disagreement. Again, we are built to be compatible, to let things go, to trust each other. Look around you and how many events take place in a daily basis that are built on trust, where things go just fine. Recently, someone broke into my car. Went to an event in a different city, and we parked the car in a parking lot, and somebody broke into the car. It was first time in my life somebody has broken into my car with that viciously, broken the mirror and everything, the window panel. And I was thinking, since that day, I've been very cautious. Where my cars are parked? Are they locked? And is there anything in the car? And I want to just talk to you about it for a moment. How many times in my life have I trusted people with car that I've not locked, with stuff in the car when it is locked, or with both unlocked car with stuff in it? Just like that, we trust conversations that are smooth. Even we are told, do not discuss politics, don't discuss religion at events, at dinners. So we are framed. Our mind has been framed to accept the fact that we are not prepared to have difficult, honest conversations. It's the first time I'm bringing the word honesty now, isn't it? You need to have honest conversations, that we have a disagreement because of whatever reason, and I can have a conversation with you, but we are not told, we are not taught, we are not prepared. So as a result, point number three, we have fear. We are fearful. Oh, what if this goes this way? What if it goes wrong? What if he shouts at me? What if she walks away from me? What if I upset them? Pay attention to this. Look at the social clue now. We are afraid of difficult conversation because we may upset people. So we can stay in a lie. We can stay under the cover. We can stay divided, but we won't upset each other. How is that? Maybe let's have a conversation on facts and clarify facts, and maybe upset people, but at least live together than what's happening right now. Three reasons so far. Difficult conversation is difficult because we are lazy. We are uncomfortable. It is difficult because we are not used to them. It is difficult because we are fearful of them. Point number four. We are difficult. These conversations are difficult because of involvement of emotions. Emotions are part of our life. Emotions guide us. And we know conversations, when they're difficult, there will be a rise in emotions. And none of us are prepared to deal with every kind of emotion. We don't even know how many kind of emotions are out there. And even if we are prepared, we don't know how the other party will react to an emotional argument. So now, not only we are unprepared, we're not dealing with difficult conversations because we are afraid of how the other party will react. The unknown in any conversation, in any negotiation. I'm prepared. I will do these three things, but I don't know how the other party will react. So I don't know how they will have a conversation with me, how they will respond to me. And I'm afraid of their emotional response, so I will not have a difficult conversation. So I'm still on point force, right? Now we are emotions and we have problem with. There is a fifth point that is even deeper. Let's go to the real reason why we're having this moment of unsyncness with difficult conversation. We always had divisions. We always had differences in our society. But it feels like now nobody is listening and everybody wants to talk. So we have stopped listening. Now, to have any good conversation, you have to have understanding, right? Understanding comes from empathizing, by listening, by paying attention. So, as a mediator, my job is to make two sides listen to each other. Well, let me rephrase, to create an environment where the two sides can listen to each other in the presence of their attorneys or outside the presence, but when there are no attorneys, but I want them to hear each other out. After all the posturing, after all the drama, after all the anchoring, hopefully there's a point when there'll be less poison and there'll be more understanding, and they'll say, aha, that's what she meant to tell me. Okay. So this point is a little deeper. We have issues with difficult conversations because we know deep down we are culturally different. Or in other words, we have different value systems. Let me make a provocative statement. All of us have different values. Not a single person here can exactly match your values with another individual on earth. Forget about your group, forget about your religion, your nationality, your region. With any other individual, you're not going to have a perfect value match. Why? Because you are an individual, and with individuality comes choices, comes behavior, comes learned methodologies of how you function, how you work. And in that learned environment, you have adopted, taken over, learned some new ways of thinking, and given up on the old ways. If you're just joining me, I see so many more people joining. Let me explain to you where we're at. We're discussing why conversations are difficult, just the first part of the presentation. And we have discussed 5 ways why conversation is difficult. We are lazy, we are uncomfortable, we're not used to them, we're afraid of them, right? They're emotional, and we have differences in values, cultural differences. So this brings me to moving to the next step, which is how do we become better at it? Before I go into mediation, let's discuss negotiation quickly, and then I'll give you tips on mediation, and let's open up questions. I don't like to give long lectures. I used to. I could give 3 4 hour lectures. Now, after giving a couple of TED talks, I've tried to narrow it down to 15-minute segments if I can. So let's come to the next segment, which is how do we become better at it? What can we do to become better, not just in our difficult conversation with somebody else, but also managing somebody else's difficult conversations. So, first one is ours, negotiating. The second one is somebody else's, mediating to other people. I have some tips for you over there. Number one, it starts with a belief that you can do it. If you believe you can manage difficult conversations, then that's where we start. Because the moment you lose hope, the room, the other party, your communication, your behavior will lose hope. 2, understand the power of context. Every conversation is contextual. So no two conversations are the same. Are you in the realm of politics in terms of religion? Are you in the realm of identity? Are you in the realm of ethnocentric perspectives? Where are you? Don't mix them all up. Learn more about them. I'm coming up with a book on cross cultural intelligence. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, it'll be published. It is with the publisher. They are doing all kind of designing now with the book. But one of my chapters in that book is on cross cultural blunders. And in the blunders I discuss, number one blunder we make is not understanding the context of where somebody else is coming from. That means coming to a snap, quick judgment. I know what you are. I know what you're saying. So I got this. This brings me to the last 3 points. Not only it is doable, not only we have to understand the power of context and culture, understand the power of time. Whatever you're going through today, you will not be going through the same thing tomorrow, or 10 days from today, or a month from today. It is temporary, but we don't think about it. Understand the power of time. So, in conclusion, my good friend had asked me a question on LinkedIn, and I want to answer that. The question was, how do we manage, how do we tell somebody else that they can have a conversation even though they have a disagreement? So let's focus on this difficult part of difficult conversation, which is now we know we have a disagreement between two people or you and the other party. Now, the question is we have a disagreement, but how can we still move forward? Understanding we have a disagreement and we can still have difficult conversation. Let me do a simple exercise with you. Have you ever been in a situation where you have seen, where you have felt that you're with someone in the room and you wish you were better in communication, you wish they were better in communication, because at the end of the day you love each other, end of the day you like each other, you have this deep connection with each other, yet you cannot communicate? Have you ever felt that? And if you ever felt that, then how can we work with that? That's the question, right? How can we be better? How many times have you felt that you want to tell somebody, I miss you, I am scared of you, I'll miss when you leave me, but we'll end up saying, go away. Fine, if you need to leave, leave. The communication is leave. What you want to say is don't leave. And that's exactly what's happening in our larger global scale. The communication is happening is we're going to put some new rules on you, some new conduct on you. We're going to raise tariffs on you. The ultimate point here is we need you, because otherwise, why would we be discussing this with you, right? And this global reliance that is depreciating, unfortunately, took centuries to build, literally, tells us that conversations and communications are important at the global scale. So I'm going to push you to think, not just in your family, with your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, brother, sister, mother, father, whoever, and not just with a stranger, with your colleague or a worker or a stranger on daily basis, even at the international level. When I consult with governments and agencies, I talk to them and I tell them, what is your interest? What is your cultural interest in the difficult conversation? Is it just to come out as a winner, or is it to truly understand where the other party is coming from for a long term agreement? So, what I'm trying to say is the following: you can frame in a mediation, when you are mediating between two other parties, you can frame the conversation as, look, we are going to have differences today. This is not going to be a smooth sailing. We will have differences. The point is not that. The point is, I'm going to allocate 2 hours, 3 hours to the arguments. Say whatever you want to say in a civilized way, let it out so you feel comfortable, so you feel good. You have done your anchoring, your blasting, your communication, your venting, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to help you frame the conversation where we're going to move forward and make progress towards your future after your heat is out. Because ultimately, we need each other. Otherwise, why will we be here together to begin with? I have a homework for you. As I leave you on these thoughts, I have a homework for you. Think about what makes conversations difficult for you. Think about how does your role in the past has played a role with your difficult conversations. Think about what conversations, what topics, what subjects, what contexts you're afraid of. If you have to do a difficult conversation today, which one are you most afraid of? That's where the real growth is. Before we facilitate the global conversations, it has to start with us at an individual level, a conversation that must take place. Why are we scared of difficult conversations? It needs to happen locally, internally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. That's the only way we're going to progress. We are built to have conversations because only then we remove doubts. We reduce, not eliminate, unfortunately, at least we reduce stereotypes and generalizations and come to realization that we are the one, that we have always been one. Thank you for your time today. Happy to take any more questions. Write to me and I'll read and answer. But the formal part of the presentation is done, and I want to keep it below 20 minutes, and I've succeeded. So thank you for your participation. Let's see. And if my team is here, they're listening. If they have any questions, they can message me so I can answer them right now. Thank you. Excellent. I see one question. Okay, good question. So, all right, this is a good question. The question goes, I know this conversation is difficult for me. Like it has to do with okay, let me answer. This has to do with a father situation, just working with your father, working with someone, your parent, your father, and this person doesn't listen to me, but I want to have a conversation. But how do I do it when I know that they never listen to me or they treat me like you don't know much and all of that? Um, that's a difficult one. That's a difficult question on difficult conversation. My answer will be simple. You're going to be honest and you're going to say, this conversation is not easy for me, Dad, but I want to have it with you because I love you. I care for you. If I didn't care for this relationship, I will not be having this conversation. So I want to start with this premise, this explanation, this vulnerability, and that is I care for you. And because of my love, because of my care, Dad, I want to tell you something. Because of my care, I'm going to just tell you two things that really bother me. Yeah, you watch too much TV, or you eat too much, or you don't walk enough, whatever that is. Now, you may take that as a defensive and you may think that I'm putting rules on you, but it's coming from a good place. And there's nobody else who's going to tell you that but me. That honesty is what makes conversations beautiful. If you start like that, how can it go wrong? Okay, another question. What if the other person is angry at you or they're mad at you? What do you do then? That's a good point. Now you have few reactions. And let's make that the last point. You have few reactions when somebody else is mad at you, right? Number one, when they are mad at you, you can remain silent because they're not going to continue forever. Number two, you can react and you can build on that anger to show them that you can also be angry. Number three, you can respond in a total different way and you say, "Why are you so angry?" And or you can say, "How are you doing today?" Or you can say, Is everything okay?" Or you can say, Can I give you a hug? Or can we talk?" There are so many ways to respond to just an anger statement, is what I'm telling you. And I want you all to be knowing that you have a choice when someone is mad at you, how to respond. That's a different thing. Do we remember the choice or not? But you should try to remember that anger has great power over us and we can manage it. And once we manage it, the conversations don't are not that difficult anymore because of how we manage it. All right, let's see. Thank you for that question. Okay, I appreciate your time, all of you. Great, and I don't see any more questions, so I'm gonna stop the live here in a couple of minutes. Um, if my team can reach to me, I cannot read any more questions. But if you have any questions, let me know so I can answer that here right now before we end the live feature. All right. So I cannot read the question. You can send to me. All right. So one more question is coming. This one is on social media. Let's see. All right. One question is, that's a beautiful question. What has been the most difficult conversation for me? Ooh, that's a very personal question. Let's see if I can answer. For me, the most difficult conversations are the ones with loved ones, are not with strangers, are not on a global scale. They are the ones who are closest to you because that's where the highest stakes are. So you want to be very careful about managing those conversations. And when you start to manage those conversations, then we can go in the right direction, right? All right. Another questions. Why do we struggle to say the right thing even when we want peace? Oh, wow. What a good question. Um, Beautiful. I think it's the social conditioning, right? I do an exercise with my students when I train them globally, executive students on a negotiation, and I tell them to wait or pause for a few seconds when they talk to each other. And after the exercise, just pause for a few seconds, right, when you're talking to each other. And after the exercise, ask them, how was it? And many students come back and tell me, most of them will tell me, oh, it was torturous. It was very difficult. And I ask them, why? Well, I wanted to respond. I pushed them further. Why was it difficult? And they say, it was weird. I said, why was it weird? Well, I wanted to say hello. I wanted to nod. I wanted to smile. I wanted to do eye contact. And I said, who taught you to have that eye contact? Why do you need to smile? And they have no direct answer. And the basic answer is, I need to be polite. Basic answer is, I don't want to break a social decorum. So I'll tell you the answer to your question is the subconscious rules that we have created. And these rules are don't engage. But what's happening that we're not realizing by not engaging with people in difficult conversations, unfortunately, we're breaking the very social fabric which we're trying to maintain by not engaging in those conversations. If we have differences of opinion, let's have a dialogue. Let's talk, civil dialogue. But are we trained? Are we prepared? Are we okay to be uncomfortable? Can we be honest with our friends? Or are we choosing friends based on which political line they belong to? Do they vote like me or not? Those are the questions. There's one more question. Good question. Thank you for that. All right. My question is, how are brown people we can make our loved ones truly listen to us since there's a generation gap And we tend to get awkward having difficult conversations. That's a very good question as well. All right, so now we talk about culture and race. Absolutely. In some cultures, and growing up in India, for example, it's not easy to have a direct conversation with your, especially with your elders. That in some families there is no conversation. We grew up, we're told, "Shut up, sit down, listen. I'll tell you what to do," as your elder telling you. And you're growing up, and you become 20-year-old, you become 30-year-old, and that's still the dynamic in the family. It's a great question. So my simple answer to that is, when you are dealing with a cultural situation, when you have a layer in the household, and you know what the layer is, layer of respect, of politeness. The first question is, where are you? Are you living in Pakistan? Are you living in India? Are you living in Nepal? Are you living in US? Are you living in Britain? Are you living in Canada? Even being the same background person, because you're living in abroad, you have little more freedom to have a more direct conversation. So a simple point here is, in the Western world, we are more used to direct, informal, on the face conversation. There's an anthropologist here in US named Edward Hall who framed it beautifully as low context conversation. Now, Edward will tell you that in countries like Pakistan, India, we have high context conversation, which means you cannot directly tell someone to something, especially to your elders. They'll feel, because the result will be so drastic, they'll feel disrespected. They'll feel they were taken advantage of. They'll feel their entire work in bringing you along in this life has been shattered by one question or one comment by you. So this idea of honor and respect plays a role. So how do you balance that? That's the question. How do you balance that being in today's world? I think that's where cross cultural intelligence and fluency comes in. My simple tip to you is, you need to know how much to push and when to retrieve. Push the argument and test where the limits are. So you can say, look, would you be comfortable, Dad, if I tell you this? And see the reaction before you move on to take 10 more things or 5 more things. Or with a friend, hey, I understand your political view is this and understand where you're coming from. I happen to have a different opinion. Would you be willing to listen to where I'm coming from? And see how the reaction is before you jump on to 10 more things. So break the conversation into small chunks and see how we can manage it. I believe, and in conclusion, I'll say, I believe with love and understanding, compassion, and vulnerability, you can have any kind of conversation with any person. It starts with heart. And I truly believe, if you start on the wrong foot in delivery, if you start by being demeaning, by being mean, by being rude, by being too mad and angry, any simple conversation can become a difficult conversation. So a big chunk of managing difficult conversation is your delivery, is your tone, is the emotion in your tone. I once remember a famous Indian actor, Amir Khan, doing an interview on live television of a couple who have lost their young son to a motorcycle accident. And Mr. Khan does a beautiful job of interviewing this couple on live TV, and he does something beautiful. What he does is, he becomes emotional with the couple as they're talking to him, and he breaks down. And I thought, what an amazing way, a genuine way to build empathy, to build trust with a complete stranger. Because look at the hierarchy. There's a difference of celebrity being with two people who can't afford a meal a day, someone lost a son, and someone who's comfortably sitting in his seat. And you cut, and of course different religions in this case too, and you cut across all those barriers with a simple act, and not spoken act, but verbal act, a non-verbal act of crying in this case. I think if we pay attention to that too, a lot of our conversations will become better, will become more managed in a better way. While I appreciate all of you joining from all over the world, I see different countries today, and I'm so blessed to have had a chance to do this first live show with you. And we'll continue these. This is the beginning, not the end. Trust me on that. And have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, or very early morning, wherever you are, and very late night. But I appreciate you joining us today. And blessings upon you. And do not be afraid of difficult conversations. Let's carry on the conversations. I know you're going to be leading many of them. Thank you all.